The participants are requested to keep their mics muted. Participants are requested to keep their mics muted.
அவ்வளவுதான் லாகின் அட்டனன்ஸ் இது
building this session with you.
Very good afternoon to all the participants. We will be starting with the session in next 5 minutes. Sir, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Very good afternoon, Devanshi. How are you?
Good, sir. How are you, sir? Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us today virtually. We'll start in just couple of minutes, sir.
Okay, sure.
Yes, sir. Sir, we have the moderator for today's session. We have Soumya Khare ma'am,
Good
Okay.
afternoon, sir.
and she'll
No,
be
sir.
moderating this session. Welcome, Soumya ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir.
Soumya ma'am, just couple of more minutes before we start.
Sure, sir.
Soumya ma'am, good to go. We can start.
Okay, sir. Good afternoon to everyone present here. I am Soumya Khare, Assistant Professor, Faculty of Law, Jagdan Lake City University. I welcome you all to the second day of the 15 days online refresher course on New Age Teaching Methods and Skills in Higher Education, which is organized by Jagdan Lake City University, Bhopal and Fiftenn Group, Prayagraj. The topic for today's session is Issues and Challenges of Online Education for Marginalized Section. I would request everybody to kindly mute themselves. Thank you so much. So the topic for today's session is Issues and Challenges of Online Education for Marginalized Section in Post-COVID-19 Pandemic. And the resource person for today is Dr. Birpal Singh, who is an Associate Professor, National Law Institute, University, Bhopal. Dr. Singh have more than 2 decades of teaching experience, and prior joining NLIU, he was associated as guest lecturer with the Departments of Sociology and Social Work in the University of Lucknow. He holds postgraduate degree both in anthropology and sociology, with specialization in social cultural anthropology and political sociology, respectively. He has worked in national and international projects, including UNDP NLIU, Ministry of Justice, Government of India project titled Examining and Strengthening Informal Justice Systems in Madhya Pradesh. He has working experience among the major tribal groups of India like Bhil, Bhilala, Gond, etc. Apart from academic duties and administrative responsibilities, he is also engaged in research and training activities. As co-coordinator, he has conducted 10 training programs on laws related to women and children for government and non-government officers of Madhya Pradesh, organized by the Center for Gender and Health Laws of NLIU Bhopal, in collaboration with the Directorate of Women Empowerment, Department of Women and Child Development, Madhya Pradesh, Bhopal. He has more than 40 publications which have been published in the journals of international and national reputes with respect to American anthropologist, environment and social international and national reputes, psychology, the Eastern anthropologist, the Oriental anthropologist, Gender Forum, Indian Journal of Dalit and Tribal Studies, and Journal of Social Anthropology, etc. His main areas of teaching and research are sociological theories, socio-cultural anthropology, tribal and customary laws, legal anthropology, caste and law, gender and laws relating to affirmative actions, and democratic decentralization in rural India. Sir, thank you so much for accepting our invitation, and we are so delighted to have you today here. And I hand over the platform for you to address the gathering.
Thank you, Ms. Soma Khare, for introducing me. A very good afternoon to each and everyone. who are present here, if really they are present. That is the first task, the topic which I am going to discuss. Okay. Before during my lecture, before starting, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to my own student and faculty, Dr. Devanshu Srivastava, the organizing secretary, one of the secretary of this program. At the same time, I would also like to extend my sincere thanks to all the senior members and all the members of the organizing committee for this kind of wonderful program. Okay, so very good afternoon to all the faculty members, research scholars, if anyone there. The only for all the faculty members, research scholars are also there.
Sir, both research scholars and faculty members both.
Okay.
Are there, sir.
So the topic which I have been given to speak, that is the issues and challenges of online education for marginal sections in post-COVID-19 pandemic. Since now more than 2 years, almost, what we all are trying to ask in the beginning, whether this is visible to everyone, am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Screen
sir.
is also
Yes,
visible.
sir. Yes, sir.
So this is the first challenge of online education, whether this is visible, am I audible? And I think my third so many times these words are sentence, am I audible or this is visible what I am showing to you. Okay. The issues and challenge of online education for marginalized sections in post-COVID-19 pandemic. Now, I have tried to divide my whole lecture in 3 parts. Beginning the first part, what is the online education all about? Because that's not the new concept. It is old, if not ancient. It is old if it is not ancient, but it has become more prominent after the COVID-19 pandemic. That highlighted the attention of all the world, right? Second part of I'll be focusing on what the side effect of this kind of the education. That is the health and well-being and other aspects as well. And because of all this, how this all has affected the education, especially for those who are the part of marginalized sections. And here marginalized sections, I mean, that is not restricted to any particular caste, tribe, or religious categories. It includes all those on whom this COVID pandemic has brought a adverse impact. They all have affected either directly or indirectly that kind of the tense atmosphere it has created, but especially for those who have adverse impact because of large loss of economy and then loss of other social relations, education of the children, etc. So third part, I would like to focus on that aspect. All right. This is when you are entering, better to use mask, maintain the social distancing, lockdown, other terms became more prevalent form during these periods. Okay. And we have seen who are the marginalized sections, especially the women, children, and others economically poor people on whom this has affected a lot. Now, coming to the core aspect, what is the education all about? So as we all are quite aware about, that this is the one tool, this is the one aspect through which we can gain anything, through which we can internalize our rights and obligations, through which we can differentiate in the rights and wrongs, through which we can not only empower ourselves, but also others. And that has been systematically mentioned in various national, international forums. Here the reference about the Article 26 of the UDHR, United States of Human Rights, and Article 13 and 14 had clearly mentioned the importance of the education, and our country is not only a signatory, but also the ratifier of that conventions. The UNDP Human Development Report translates the three essential elements of human development: long and healthy life is quite essential for us, knowledge, how we get it, so the education, maybe mode of education different, either informal or formal or both way, okay, and a decent standard of living. And that was also justified under the Article 21 of the Indian Constitution, where it talks about a right to life, but not mere right to life in a dignified way. So whether that kind of dignity was continuing or is continuing after the COVID-19 pandemic effect, or some have lost their dignities and forcefully compelled to pass their life in a non-dignified way. But the system talks about, the International Forum talks about that is the long and healthy life, knowledge, and decent standard of living. Article 29, one up on the other sides, also part of our constitution, equal access to education institutions maintained by the state without discrimination on grounds only of religion, race, caste, language, or any of. That ground will not work. It means everyone is supposed to be treated equally, and that is the main gist of the Article 14 of the Indian Constitution, which is a reference about the equality right, but at the same time, it has the bifurcation in terms of interpretation of the Article 14 of the Indian Constitution, that equality before the law and equal protection of law. Here is a reference about whether the equal protection has been given after this COVID-19 pandemic, the rights of education to marginalized society or not. I would focus on that aspect. Further, a right to education has now become one of the fundamental rights after addition of Article 21A in the Indian Constitution, and for that purpose, we also legal enactment in the year 2009, which mandates the provide a quality education to all children from 6 to 14 years of age, free of cost. These are the general operation what we have as part of our system. That idea has been also placed in international when this new agenda of development, where the world has not succeeded fully to achieve the objectives in the form of Millennium Development Goals. The further new agenda was adopted, what we call the Agenda 2030, that is the Sustainable Development Goals. Having 17 objectives, the two objectives talks about the means how to achieve the above 15 objectives. The difference of the goal number 16 and 17. Peace, justice, the way, means, and the partnership. Everything not possible only on the part of us alone, on the part of the government. So TPP model is more important in order to enhance the knowledge in each and every sector of the society. So that emphasis has been given for that purpose. SDGs, the sustainable development concept, came into existence in that reference. This has created an unprecedented opportunity to achieve equitable growth, protect the environment, and improve the quality of life of people around the world. It's not only in the field of education. How to use the technology more information oriented, the information communication technology, essential to achieving the SDGs by 2030 by providing new solutions to help realize the vision set forth by the international community. So 17 goals, 169 objectives, and 193, if I'm not wrong, the countries who are the part of that United Nations, they have signed this that to achieve overall growth in each and every sector of society for each and every sections of the society. Now, how to use this ICTs for achieving the SDGs in various arenas. So digital technologies create major opportunity to improve how we produce, distribute, and manage food as a major driver for economic growth and an accelerator for innovation. And we are celebrating, and we are celebrating the day, that is the 15th August, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Now, where is improvement is required? What is new things is required in order to enhance the process of the development in this country? After that slogan of the Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, Jai Vigyan, new addition there, that is the Jai Anusandhan. So we are supposed to get rid of the dependency syndrome on others. We had to innovate our own ideas, to develop our own inventions, so that we may become self-dependent in every sphere, and that in education as well. How this online education is helping, what extent is helping, the other way of developing the societies in the adverse situations. So ICTs can enhance learning for more than 260 million children and youth around the world who are out of school. That is the observation of Broadband Commission UNESCO 2017. How this is going to help, especially after post-COVID-19 pandemic effect. Necessity, the mother of invention. And we are the slave of circumstances. But even being the slave of circumstances, we always tried to create the new path to enhance our learning, to enhance our knowledge, to enhance the path of the development. So necessity is the mother of invention. And thus today the concern not about whether online teaching learning methods can provide quality education, rather how academic institutions will be able to adopt online learning in such a massive manner. Shut down, lockdown, everything was closed. How to go further? Resistance to change will not help any educational unit across the world, because change is ubiquitous. Every society tends to change. When we as an individual, in terms of our own personality, change. So we have to welcome change, and because there is no choice, no options. So because change the ubiquitous. So resistance change will not help any unit across the world. They will be judged on their pace to adapt to the change in such a short period and their ability to maintain the quality. Here's a model. If anyone from the field of sociology and anthropology here, if he or she is attending the program, they might be aware about this kind of the approach. What kind of social system we want in order to enhance our capabilities. The model is propounded by Talcott Parsons, one of the sociologists, that is known as the Agile model, and it stands for A for adaptation, G for goal attainment, I for integrity, and L for latency, which is further bifurcated into two: pattern maintenance and tension management. So when the change occurs, definitely change a boon and bane for certain sections, certain other sections. Okay, because certain people adversity becomes boon for them, and for some adversity becomes bane. So adaptation, it means we had to cope, we had no choice but to adapt with the situation, to cope with the situations. Goal attainment, how to survive economic aspect. While surviving, how to maintain the integrity so that the social order remain as usual. It means so that social orderly society may not disturb. But if changes occurs, this will disturb. So initially you will try to maintain the status quo, pattern maintenance. But further, it creates the tension, and again tensions become on function of the society. So that's the reference about the other notion of this development approach of the society as elaborated by Karl Marx: thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. Right? So how because accordingly the society is judged, or societies will be judged in terms of their growth and development. And that's the theory known as the energy theory of culture, that is also given by one of the anthropologists, Leslie White. He has propounded a formula: E into T is equal to C. E stands for energy, T for technology, and C for culture. And that's the four aspects of the social system of any societies: ideological aspect of culture, sociological aspect of culture, technological aspect of culture, then come the sentimental aspect of culture. Whoever the society, if it is technologically sound, that society will overpower all other aspects of the culture. So technology is more important, because through the technology, we can also enhance the knowledge, we can also enhance the culture. And during this period, the technology has become a boon how to cope with the situation, especially in the field of education, where universities have been closed, colleges have been closed. No choice, but you are multi-restricted within your own domestic boundary, forget about the social boundary. Okay, so how to cope in such a situations? Now coming on the second part of this, what is the online education as such? The nomenclature is not new, it's old, but it has many other way of identifications. what we talk in the field of literature, that online education basically termed by distance education, which is not recent, it is old. E-learning, online learning, blended learning, computer-based learning, web-based learning, virtual learning, tele-education, cyber learning, internet-based learning, distributed learning, etc. These are the names for the online education. Distance learning has a long history in this country, and there are several types of available today, including the correspondence courses conducted through regular meal with little interaction. There is also a way of imparting the education through online mode. Telecourses, where content is delivered by radio or television. Other means way of where you are not directly interacting with the persons. CD-ROM courses, where the students interact with static computer. Am I quite audible to everyone? It's going okay?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Because there are chances my speed is sometimes it's too fast. So if that is the situation, please stop me anywhere. Okay.
Perfectly audible.
Then fine. Just a minute, ये आपका कुछ नीचे आता जाता रहता है यहाँ पे, that disturb sometime. Okay, so CDM courses where the student interacts with static computer content, online learning, inter-based courses offered synchronously and asynchronously. We'll come later on what is the meaning of synchronous and asynchronous training system or learning systems. Mobile learning now by means of devices such as cellular phones, PDAs and digital audio, plays iPads, MP3. There's so many other tools through which we can interact to enhance our knowledge. That's the reference of the online teaching learning. Then the other mediums which are working at the country level, it take through the ages. Even the government, the system, the culture, and here culture means the national culture, the system, the governance. We can observe that writing slates were used in Indian schools. I don't know how many, some of might be there, but I have been the part of that kind of the structural judgment in my initial stage of education. We can observe that writing slates were used in Indian schools during the 1100s, that the year mentioned here. In the year 1440, first printing press was invented by John Gutenberg. In the 1600s, Abacus helped students in understanding fundamental of math, and in the year 1913, Thomas Edison promoted film clips as a replacement for teachers. In 1920, this is the history, how this online education came into existence. In 1920, Sydney famously called the MCQ machine. In the 1960s, further, online education originated at the University of Illinois, and in 1994, India's EdTech journey finally began in India with the launch of EduCom. Recently, around 2010, EdTech startup entered the market intending to disrupt the education sector, a learning application by Byju's. I think most of you might be quite aware about this, became one of the most valued tech companies in the year 2019. And from then, many startups have come up to give tough competition to Byju's. It means the development in education sector through the mode of online teaching and learning. Okay. Now, online learning community, who are the people? So the effort to build a learning community should start at the beginning of a course and continue throughout the term.
Sir, slide is not moving.
Sir, excuse me.
I just
Slide
try
is
to
not
move. It's not visible?
No, sir. No, sir.
It is not
You missed
moving.
one more.
But here it is moving. Just a minute.
Sir, slide is not visible.
I said this is also not visible.
No, sir.
Slide is
Sir,
visible.
sir,
I
it's
believe it is
visible,
not
Slide is
but-
visible, but it is not moving.
correct.
Okay, this is heading is here. Just a minute. It took through the edges. That is visible. This present slide is visible.
No, sir. That,
Distance learning has long history. That slide you have stuck with, sir.
No, this is visual right or not?
It is visible, but it was stuck with that.
Okay. Now next I try.
Sir, please stop share and please reshare.
Yes. Now this is the next slide. This is the next
No.
slide. It is
No,
not
sir.
visible.
No,
It's
sir.
not moving. No, sir, slide is not moving.
Okay, this is the next slide. Okay. So what should I do from this side?
So can you
Top
please
side is
share
the-
it?
Either you can
Exit the
minimize
full
and
screen
show.
mode.
Either you can minimize and show. So if it is in the full screen, sometimes it happens. You can minimize and show.
Share the screen again.
Or
Okay.
else you can reshare.
Now it is visible.
Not yet, sir.
Okay, so
Probably you
better
can exit the full screen mode. Probably then we'll be able to see.
I stop sharing and then I will, I think, again.
Yes, sir. You can do that.
That might work because from here slide is moving. Okay. This is the major challenge of online education. So this is the challenge itself. Now it's fine.
Yes.
Transportation segment, which is
Hello.
and we see that after
I'll request all the participants to please mute themselves.
there may be revival.
Thank you.
Now it's fine. This is visible to everyone.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay, now I'm moving on next slide. This one.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Now
Okay,
that's fine.
then fine. Okay. So various studies should be employed to stimulate discussions. Both task-oriented discussion and social interaction should be encouraged. Students should be assigned tasks that require collaboration. These are some means through which we can enhance the atmosphere of teaching, learning. Right. Now the next one is visual to everyone.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then it's working. So there are some questions for new online instructor to be considered, or for us as a teachers, when other we all are teachers here. Okay, how can accommodate different learning styles online? One of the major issues. How might you convert the learning activities you use in the traditional classroom face-to-face situation to the online environment? Is it possible to use your materials as is, or will you need to rethink how your material is presented? Offline, everything possible, but here how? Whether that material is really available in online mode, that is the other issues. So there is some questions which come before us, and that a kind of the challenge and issues as well for imparting the education through online mediums. Lecturing is the most common method of presenting content in college classrooms, while lecturing is a less productive method of teaching in the online environment. Other issues. How will you inform your students of online expectations and realities and help ensure their success? It means their attention, their concentration, how to maintain this. What problems can you participate, or we can participate that students might have in beginning our course or your course? How might you smooth the way for your students through online mode? So there is some issues, the following questions which are before us while interacting with the students. Okay. Now, what are the principles of good teaching? And name of these colors I mentioned here. They talked about the 7 standards of good practice for education. Number 1, encourage student-faculty contact. What extent this is really possible in case of online teaching mode? Encourage student-faculty contact. Encourage student cooperation. So many voices, so many things. Okay, in good way or bad way. So how to make that, how to maintain that? Encourage active learning, means active interactions, then it is the active learning is possible. You prompt feedback, your action. Emphasize time on tasks, disciplined approach of learning, and communicate high expectations, moral obligations. And finally, respect diverse talents and ways of learning. What extent that is possible for a teacher to judge the student in such a scenario in online mode? So there is some issues or standards for taking the good practice for education. That the reference here. Now, issues and challenges for teachers in online mode case. Challenges place the onus on the teachers to upskill themselves in competencies such as subject expertise, classroom communication, content planning and development, student assessment, and technology tools to capitalize on the emerging opportunities in schools in India and abroad, as well as in online teaching. What extent we as a teachers are really tuned to use the technology for imparting the education. Many of us, some extent, you may say before this pandemic, many of us learned not quite tuned with this. So initially, everyone faced too much problem in terms of your communication through the online mediums. Whether you are sound to technology, so these are some issues of the online teachings for us as a teachers. Further, the lack of standardized content for regional languages. Most of it is available in English. Whether that is available on net in the regional languages, there is some core issues for majority of the students of this country in different regions of this country. Lack of standardized content for regional. Children studying regional languages are at a disadvantage as there is not much standardized content available yet online for them. Yes? Hello?
I'm unable to see the presentation.
It is your
I'm
case
still
or
not.
no one is seeing?
Actually, one more person has complained for the same.
Ma'am, I think the PPT is visible.
Yes, ma'am. PPT is visible.
I would request you to please log out and please log in again, ma'am.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It is visible.
Okay. So that is the major issue which no one can deny. The availability of the content in the regional languages on it. How to do this? Because when content is not there, how to proceed further? So there is some challenges before the teachers. Then other aspect of the challenges, perspectives of e-learning, our tuning or standardizations, technological and pedagogical. Technology is there, okay, it is helping us, but whether pedagogically we are sound or not, they are the issues which are just about the availability of content in regional languages. So technology, including the infrastructure and the platforms, should enable development, hosting and delivery of e-learning content for its user. A pedagogical aspect concerns the e-learning content and is used for expanding the knowledge of the learner, the major issues. And thus the two significant modes which I also mentioned earlier, the e-learning are synchronous training and asynchronous training. A face-to-face situation, and then in case of asynchronous, the various other modes where we are directly not interacting with the students. Okay, by recorded lectures, recorded videos. When we are imparting the education, then we say about it is the asynchronous training rather than the synchronous or asynchronous learning rather than the synchronous learning. In case of synchronous, we are directly dealing, we are presenting, we are interacting. We may relate this, what our communication going on as part of synchronous learning process rather than the asynchronous learning process. And they also issue right now this side, in place of cursor, some other object is visual here. Oh my.
We have blocked the annotations.
And yes, I did that.
Yeah.
Okay. This slide visual. Next one.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So see, even sometimes communication stops because in terms of our own interactions, there's the other issue of the online learning in a direct situations. So in general, internet-based learning is considered an option, an alternative to traditional learning. No doubt, during the coronavirus pandemic, it became an essential element for maintaining the activity of schools and universities that we all are aware about. So there's a paradigm shift which could generate changes in students' perception of this way of teaching, and their perception might be different from the one found in studies previous to the pandemic, and how that's affecting their mental and social and cultural well-being. We later come on that aspect. Internet technology facilitated the distribution of content at the same time to a large number of users, e-learning platforms offer many advantages to learners, such as control over the content, control over the time spent learning, and thus the process can be adapted according to the learner needs and objectives of learning. We can relate here also. I think there are a number of participations. If this program was based on the direct face-to-face situation, I had doubt that the participant will turn for that. So that is other good impact of online learning, where we have more access, we can invite more participants in a time. There's the other reference about how this online learning is helping. So internet technologies facilitate the distribution of content at the same time to a large number of users. E-learning platform offer many advantages to learners, such as control over the content, control over the time spent learning, and thus the process can be adapted according to the learner needs and objectives of learning. And thus we can access our interactions not only our boundaries but beyond the boundaries. So many programs, schemes, webinars, the new term came, launch due time. Okay, you are not met any professors, but you are attending program happening in Italy, which is happening in America, which is happening in England. This is how the technology is helping us for our for enhancement of our knowledge. Here there is some issue of some these fonts which are creating the problem sometime. How to move the slide further from my side. Okay, now this is next one is visible here. You have to move that up and down. Okay. Issues and obstacles. So these organizations, some of you might be aware about, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, what it mentioned that some of the challenges universities have to face after this adverse effect of the COVID-19 pandemic, keeping an equilibrium between online courses that could affect students' health. Continuous setting, later come on that, how that is affecting our health, our physical structure. Further, spending many hours in front of a screen and non-digital activities, monotonous. Analyzing and focusing on students' emotional health, providing them with support throughout the process of learning, because you're not directly interacting. So while at home, there are so many other issues, personal issues, family issues, atmosphere and that much comfort. So kind of the anxiety or stress emerge on the side of the students as well as on the side of the teachers. I'll come later on that aspect as well. Okay, taking account the fact that not all students have access to internet. Yes, infrastructure is there, but how much are in a comfort zone to avail that infrastructure? And especially where there are 3-4 members of the family are in school going. So it's not only about the higher education. We have to see this kind of the situation in a holistic way, beginning from the primary education to middle class education, then the secondary, then the higher education, where everywhere even the teachers and students face the situations. Managing and monitoring their access to device, collaborate with them, the other issues and challenges. Then effectiveness and benefits and downsides of the e-learning, what is this kind of the elements it involves. Intuition, which refers to teachers knowing how to use the tools in order to enhance learning. You are at home and you have been told that to perform the tasks from your home, you're not that much technologically sound, or you're not having that much technological inputs. So how to make the balance, how to learn this? Because that is new for everyone, for whom you are giving the education, for you yourself. So both are having the problems. Here just few minutes. Like one of the I think 2 parts that screen not visible, others it is visible to us. So there is some common issues that also sometimes disturb this ordering of learning in that case. So how to interact with the students and create a comfortable learning environment when you are inside your home. We are living with the families. How to creatively bring students closer and capture, because I know during that period some of you might also witness students one of my students, sir आप बहुत हो गया है sir, sir आप समझिए I need personal space. In family, it is not possible. Sir, see, sir, कब university खुलेगी? So they are the question, they are issues, anxiety, stress, emotions. Some of them really started weeping. Sir, अब तो बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया. Sir, मन कुछ और कर रहा है. And we may commit suicide. There are situations which came okay after this effect. So how to interact with the students and create a comfortable learning environment, and last one, that is the how to creatively bring students closer and capture their attention. You are online, but you are in line, but you are not on. This is the situations. Maybe on, yes, I am attending, but you are not visible. You might be busy in some other works. So that is the other situation. How to creatively bring students closer and capture their attention. Students that may feel isolated because of the absence of physical colleagues, a case in which teachers should know how to establish connections and relationship with them and technology. These are the serious issues to make a balance between the teacher and the tasks. Now, how this has affected when they are the issues and challenges as well, how this affected, this affected the more mental, social, and physical well-being of the person or the individuals, both teachers, students, and family members as well. So health become a major concern because that affected the health at all. But how this health has brought a major shift in mental, social, and psychological aspect of the human beings. So the impact of pandemic on people's mental health is already extremely concerning. Social isolation, fear of contagion, and loss of family members is compounded by the distress caused by loss of income and often employment. I still remember 2020 when two of our farmer students died because of this COVID-19. And at that time, online classes were going on. The student requested to the administration, sir, we all request you to suspend the classes for 15 days. We are in mental trauma. We are not in the situation to concentrate ourselves. So these are some issues. Okay, so the situation. So because health has a wider meaning, it's not only the physical well-being we all are quite aware about. It's both social, physical, and psychological as well, right? So according to the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, the pandemic has interrupted the learning of more than 1 billion students in 129 countries around the world. Major chunk of the population got affected by this. Okay, and this how it created a problem at the world level. Health and measure continue that many institutes worldwide have moved to emergency remote teaching via online platforms, further inducing anxiety among the students. Consultations, technology, connection, disconnection, availability of internet, availability of electricity, through which we can generate everything. There is some crucial issues of online teaching. Studies on the effect of COVID-19 lockdown on college students in China reported significant adverse effects on the students' psychological well-being, the high levels of anxiety that we can relate to the students of many other societies as well. Measures such as lockdown, we never heard this word earlier. Okay, in that prevalent mode. Okay, street isolation, social distancing. If someone affected by COVID in the family atmosphere, how to maintain this, then another task. Emergency remote teachings and uncertainty and delays in commencement of schools. When the school will open, when they will rejoin, when they will interact, when they will meet their friends, their colleagues, when they interact the people of the society. There is some crucial issues. And it has significant implications on students' socio-psychological well-being and anxiety levels. Health is a state of complete, the kind of the definition we have from the WHO, complete physical, mental, social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease. In other words, what we can say, just because you feel okay doesn't mean you are okay. यदि आप मुस्कुरा रहे हैं तो जरूरी नहीं कि आप अंदर से मुस्कुरा रहे हैं. What is sometimes make a sarcastic remark on the lighter sides. So if you seems physically fit, it doesn't mean that you are mentally and socially also fit. And that's the reference about what the mental health, which has adverse impact during this pandemic periods. Mental health is a state of well-being in which the individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to contribute to his or her own community. This had disturbed a lot during the pandemic periods, and still some other way it is continuing. Still we are hoping we are not get rid of that fully. So defining mental ill health, what this is all about? Mental illnesses are health conditions involving changes in emotion, thinking or behavior, or a combination of these. Mental illnesses are associated with distress and are problems functioning in social, work, or family activities. Everywhere it has affected us, where you are feeling anxiety, where you are not in a peace state of mind. This is the situation which occurred after this pandemic effect. There is also law which also talks about, because this has become the major health issue all in the world, and our country is not exception. We are also facing the situations, and for that purpose, we are also enacted a law in the year 2017, known as the Mental Health Care Act 2017. How it defines Section 2 of every legislative enactments had the definitional clauses. Talks about definition of the various terms which are used in that legislations. So here what the mental illness under Section 2, subsection 1, as talks about, it means a substantial disorder of thinking. We are physically here, but mentally somewhere else. Disorder of thinking, mood, perception, orientation, or memory that grossly impairs judgment, behavior, capacity to recognize reality, the trauma, or ability to meet the ordinary demands of life. Mental conditions associated with the abuse of alcohol. Sometimes we divert ourselves, drugs, but doesn't include mental retardation, which is a condition of arrested or incomplete development of mind of a person, especially characterized by subnormality of intelligence. So we had to differentiate between the mental illness and mental retardations. That's the definition of the under the Mental Health Care Act 2017, how this has affected the well-being of the person in the society. Now see, the emojis have become our other mode of social interactions through the WhatsApp instage. Where you are there, we are also there, everyone is there, one way or other way. So well-being and traditions, what really we need in order to sustain a better place in the society, to sustain a better living, to sustain the orderly arrangement of the society. Hedonic psychology, sukhwad, happiness, positive emotions. See the emojis, you can identify what this particular symbol denotes. Positive presence of positive mood, absence of negative mood, satisfaction with various domains of life, work, leisure, etc. Then global life satisfaction, whether you are really satisfied with the work or not. So how these challenges affected the economy and the teachers? Many teachers who are working in the private institutions, teachers like me who are the part of the government setup, it's okay, fine. But many of the teachers who are the part of the private structures, private institutes, their salaries have been cut down. The economy reduced in terms of monetary gain, the form of salaries. So that also creates the issues of other aspects for the education of their children. So there are various issues. It means people struggled a lot in many fold because of COVID-19 pandemic. Reduction of salary also affects, sometimes also that affect the cardiac relations. Divorce rates became also high. If not divorce, a kind of the conflicted situation within the family atmosphere. So what the David Cameron, he mentioned this. It is time we admitted that there is more to life than money. And it is time we focus not just on GDP, on GWB, that is the general well-being of the society. Well-being cannot be measured by money or traded in markets every time. It is about the beauty of our surroundings, the quality of our culture, and above all, the strength of our relationship. Improving our society's sense of well-being is I believe, the central challenge of our times. What do you mean by the well-being in that sense? For most of us, the work culture is one of the key determinants of self-worth, family esteem, identity standing within the community, besides, of course, material progress and a means of social participation and progress. That is the other way of what do you mean by the well-being at workplace. Well-being and standard of living. As I mentioned, the second part will talk about how this is related to the health aspect. Okay. Who defines who are the World Health Organizations? The standard of living as income and occupation, the standards of housing, sanitation, and nutrition, the level of provision of health, educational, recreational, that also got disturbed during this pandemic period, and other services may all be used individually as measure of socio-economic status and collectively as an index of the standard of living. Every year, we have a Human Development Index report. The parameters with the roti, kapla, and makan, food, cloth, and shelter, we have another parameter also, that is the health. And depending that parameters, the countries are hierarchized. Hierarchy is given where a country stands at the world level in terms of the fulfilling the satisfying the needs of these people in these sectors: health, food, shelter, and clothing. Minimum basic standard of living, that is the fully applicability of Article 21 of the Indian Constitution, or emulated the other constitutions as well. Quality of life, it is a composite measure of physical, mental, and social well-being as perceived by each individual or the group of individuals: happiness, satisfaction, gratification. So what extent we are happy or not. So these are the other vital aspects of learning and living a fulfilling life. Good mental and physical health is required both for teachers and TARs in academic or any arena, within the family system or outside the family system. So health and well-being both are interrelated to each other. Successful learners, confident individuals, responsible citizens, and effective contributors. Activities: respected, responsible, included, safe, healthy, achieving, nurtured. I am forcing here included aspect of this well-beingness, because after this adverse effect of the COVID-19 pandemic, whether those sections of societies who are already on the margin societies became more marginalized, their children lack the education. Because everyone not having access to infrastructure facilities to get education through online modes. So more emphasis here as part of this lecture, that is inclusion. Whether everyone is included, having helped to overcome social, education, and physical and economic inequalities, and being accepted as part of the community in which everyone feel attached and everyone feels, yes, they are also the part of that structural arrangement, and they have equally contributing at their or equally inclusive policy for their well-being. That is the other aspect of understanding the social systems. Continuing this, the incidence of anxiety was higher among students compared to that among the general population. Several stresses have been identified as key factors affecting the students' anxiety and psychological well-being. What are those factors? A parent or associate being infected by COVID-19, what I mentioned earlier, if someone in family is affected, what will situations? Whether you are mentally sound, where you are socially sound, where you are physically sound, to concentrate on your education, there is some crucial issues. A parent or associate being infected by COVID-19. Monetary issues and their effects on daily life. People lost their jobs. And people lost their jobs, children lost their education in many families, in many communities. So monetary issues and their effects on daily life. Educational disruptions, effects of disease on education and potential jobs. And you are the part of the private structure, part of this and that structure. So, okay, you got affected, fine, but you're not turning within 15 days or 20 days. your salary reduced, or maybe chances that company will appoint someone else, not take your services. Where company needs work, company not associated anyway to your health. So here the human nature, human tendency will not work. You are professional, you will work in a professional way. These are some also the crucial issues. Educational deception, effects of on education and potential jobs, and sensational broadcast and inaccurate news reports. They also create too much trauma and anxiety. Because even today, while taking class on land development for LLB students and then the land social transition for LLM students, I mentioned that every year in India, the reports which comes, the more people died, what people died during the COVID-19 pandemic due to malaria and TB. More death tolls, right? But that is a part of latent aspect of society. COVID-19 pandemic deaths become the part of manifest structures. A kind of revolutionary change where family witness within a family, 2 or 3 or 4 persons died. So it has created a kind of the major panic situation in everywhere. Those who are not affected, they also developed a fear psychosis. Okay, there may be chances they may be affected. So everyone, I think this situation has created tense atmosphere where everyone is directly and indirectly didn't feel happy during that periods, right? So other stresses include students' place of residence, family income stability. Some students ask the administration to reduce their fees, to waive off their fees, because their family members, the earners of the family, they lost their jobs. So students are not in a position to pay the fee. So there are the other issues. Other stresses include students' place of residence, family income stability, parents' psychological status, reduced social interactions, increased number of new cases in affected provinces, and the imposition of travel bans affecting daily life. How this one health aspect has brought a major shift in various other dimensions of your social interactions, whether it is economy, that is social, cultural, education, etc. Now, some of the reports, what the student felt during these periods when they are at home. Here is some data taken from sources. Okay, students' qualitative feedback during this period, what they are feeling when they are at home, their observations, their own anxiety, their own stresses. I am struggling a lot by being at home because not everyone is blessed with a stable and happy family. Try to understand this. I need to learn how to cope with it. One of my students, mother, father, both were having good relations prior to COVID-19 pandemic. But due to this pandemic, and due to distance and some issue with the jobs, work culture, now the relations turmoiled. In between, we became what we say the bone of, I'm forgetting that word here, the child is suffering. Sir, घर में ऐसा हो गया है. Sir, mama is not, papa is not talking to you. So they are the issues which affect a lot to all 3 persons, especially the children. Because for child, father and mother both are equally important. In case of disputes of mother and father, husband and wife, they may think about that you are not important for her, she is not important for her, but for a child, generally, everyone is important. To see his mental trauma over phone, then when university is open, he often come to me. Yes, sir, now there's improvement, but sir, lot of input not taken. So, sir, how to concentrate? I should be every time thinking about my mother and father. These are the other issues. Online class is more tired than the actual one. Continuous sitting. I barely can sleep at night and doing the assignments. The students need to use laptop early in the morning until midnight. This is one of the reasons why the students not energetic, static. We are becoming just sitting in one place. As a financial problem, I just do not want to be a burden to my family as my expenses are quite high. Uncertain of the upcoming academic plans and the coping ability of students in academic after when lifted. In this current situation, there are a lot of things that make me worried, such as can I finish my semester? They will complete or not? What will my education? What will my placement if you are the students of final year? Do I need to extend my study? Or how about my final exam? Because we have lost concentration in terms of our learning, writing capabilities. These are the some issues which were before the students cannot catch up with online study. Sitting condition not possible to concentrate. So eye contact. Could not study on when having online classes because need to do housework on time and the feedback from lecturer is too late. This is on both sides. As a teacher, you are supposed to prepare the lecture for online classes. But as a mother, as a father, not generally the mother, you also to perform your gharilu tasks, domestic tasks. It's really difficult to cope with 2 subjects this semester, and I had no idea with next long semesters, online classes. Struggling not to hang myself or jump off the apartment, thoughts which are coming, creating a confusion. I think online distance learning rise my level of stress rather than it has reduced. It means this kind of the mode of education has not helped me in any way, rather than it has created a problem for my own development. Okay, I hope, last one here, that lecturers not bully students by giving a ton of assignments. You do this, you do that, because you are at home. So that the agony, that is the internalization, that is the objection, the thought of the student. Yeah, I hope that lecturers not bully students by giving a ton of assignments with short due date. It's not easy as they think. It's not easy as they think. Sometimes I felt so stressed due to the short due date and the assignments. We are human too. I hope by signing this petition can help students. So extension for sir is not possible to come to the position on time. Please give the extensions. Okay, so these are the other issues how we are, and then this effect of online on health aspects. Increase in number of patients affected by online screen learning process. These are some crucial issues that come before here. Okay, and room surfing. This is the various problems associated with the online learning. Then also the adverse habits, which are no way good. There's the reference here that in a survey of AIMS, 51% of youth they develop online gaming. This kind of habit is not good for their development. On the other sides, various diseases related to the eye disease basically came forth. Okay, continue sitting on a screen and then the posture others. So screen बढ़ा रही बच्चों की आंखों का merge, patients increase. Now this is the lighter on the lighter side, laughter in the time of corona. आपका बच्चा ऑनलाइन स्टडी करता है तो हमारा ये पता रख लीजिए हमारी चश्मे की दुकान है. These are the issues which have affected your health and the flourishing of the other business. Here, the major issue also is not the eye. Also, हर महीने सुनने में परेशानी वाले 150 मरीज, इनमें 70% युवा. It means affected people belong to the youth populations. Okay, the dumbness, other aspects, headache, pain in ear. Okay, not sleeping properly, anxiety, rising blood pressure. So they are the issues which became more prominent during these periods and how they are affected whole social and cultural aspect of learning for the students. Then come the digital divide, now coming under third aspect, which is important in terms of the marginalized sections of the society. Digital divide, whether everyone was comfort with the use of technology or technology available to everyone. These are some uses where millions of children have lost their education. One of the study that will come, I think, the next, because of lockdown, 150 crore children affected. It means because of the lockdown, 150 crores. How they will do? Because in a country like us, their population of 33 crores school-going students, where only 10% have the access to online classes. This is the reports here. So the digital gap, and the digital gap had also created a disparity in terms of have and have nots. Even those who are the haves, what I'm trying to say here, economically sound, if there are 2 or 3 children in the family, it's not possible to purchase 3 or 4 laptops at a time. Further, our mobiles, further the issue of the house, issue of the rooms, crucial issue. So growing digital inequality between developed and developing countries, as well as between the rich and poor within countries, the rates, rollouts, financing needs of new deployments and network upgrades. To my some of 2 students were at that time from Jammu and Kashmir. Sir, यहाँ तो government ने ban कर रखा है. So it's only 2G working. So it's too difficult to connect you or to connect to other teachers. So sir, you record the lecture. Sir, please mail me those lectures. Because network internet is not coming properly. So digital divide, slowing growth in mobile subscription SMS volumes may be inevitably some markets approach maturity, as well as for some operators revenues. Operators are having to navigate slowing subscription growth and adapt to meet consumer demands for data. So online shiksha is creating a gap further between Amiri and Garibi, rich and poor people. And so many things we have. What happened, the issues are there in different parts of the country, that a farmer sold his cow to purchase a mobile for his daughter. Further, another story is here in this, that the case of the Haryana, and then case of the Haryana and Rohtak, where a girl whose father has this what we say paralysis, right? She left her father alone at home and went and always go to her friend's home to attend the classes. These are the other issues, how this has created an imbalance in order to impart the educational systems. The statistics are very alarming. But the report of the Facebook study 2017 of 75 countries around the globe revealed that on average, 94% of these 75 countries lives within range of 2G mobile signal. Is it possible for us? Not. In fact, it is virtually impossible to explain the internet rapidly via 2G connections. And I give the example of my 2 students from Jammu and Kashmir at that period of time. Only 76% of world population lives within access of the 3G signal, and only 43% people have access to 4G connections. What about others who are not having? Definitely, they will lag behind because of lack of these kind of the facilities. So key reasons for lack of connectedness to the internet: lack of infrastructure, non-affordability, lack of skills, and lack of digital content. On the other sides, some of business police, as I mentioned in the beginning, that any adversary, any change, it has both boon and bane. So for some, this adversary has become a business, a situation for their profit earning, no human tendencies. On the other sides, see the issues, how much loss for the education of the children. As UNESCO estimates, over 280 million children in India have been impacted by school closures due to COVID-19. 280 millions, large number. The government has succeeded in getting children to school with nearly 100% enrollment, but 1/4 drop out after class 8, and that problem is already there. The rate of dropouts are very high, especially among the ST populations, which has its own cultural regions behind this. So they are the statistics which present a very alarming situations. On the other sides, more than 2/3 of countries have introduced a national distance learning platform because of this. But among low-income countries, the share is only 30%. Before this crisis, almost 1/3 of world's young people were already digitally excluded because of lack of access to facilities. 15 lakh schools, the situation in our country in terms of education structures, 15 lakh schools, 1,028 universities, 41,901 colleges, and 10,726 stand-alone institutions in this country. The number of students going to school are 33 crores, and only 10.3% of them have internet facilities. To see what will happen to the other people. The reasons for that, why such things are happening: affordability, whether we are in position to afford; availability, that is really available; accessibility, who can access; if you're living in remote areas, how you can access; accessibility, whether you are tuned with the technology or not. These are the some again challenges. So online learning faces many challenges ranging from learners issues, educator issues, and content issues. It is a challenge for institutions to engage students and make them participate in the teaching learning processes. Sometimes we ask ourselves, or sometimes others ask, how to make session interactive in this mode of learning, how to make students to concentrate on the other issues. So it is a challenge for teachers to move from offline mode to online mode, changing their teaching methodologies and managing their time. It's challenging to develop content which not only covers the curriculum, but also engage the students. Ensuring digital equity is crucial in this tough time. Not all the teachers, as I mentioned, all are not equipped, not tuned with the technology, how to use, how to perform the task. So that further create the problems. Many times what happened in 1 hour class, in more than half an hour, sometimes 45 hours, and sometimes whole hour, the electricity supply has gone, or there's some internet issues. So we fail to perform our task. So ensuring digital equity is crucial in this tough time. Not all the teachers and students have access to all digital devices, internet and Wi-Fi. The other core issues of this, basically for those who are on the margin of the societies. Now, how all these will become functional, for which what we need? Major issues, electricity. The government of this country is claiming that every village or the whole India has been the part of electricity. It means electricity everywhere, but that in other situations. We have the poles. I belong to village India, so I'm quite aware about. If poles are there, but wires are not there. So how the electricity? Poles are there, wires are there, but supply is not there. They are issues. And what we are doing right now, if that is not there, how we can proceed further, how we can enhance our knowledge, how we can interact, how we can connect to each other. So electricity is one of the major essential for running computers and laptops, except the remote learning platform. All the central government boasts what I mentioned here, the 99.9% rural electrification, but that in other situations, the ground reality fails to bear consonance with their claims. Mission Antodaya, a nationwide survey of village conducted by the Ministry of Rural Development in 2017-18, what it showed, the 16% of India's household received 1 to 8 hours of electricity daily. In rural India, now there's improvement. Other in UP, what happened? The electricity supply during the night time, not the daytime. So these are the other issues. How the children, how the teachers will pay. If they are really interested to both way, even if you have the infrastructure, if the facility is not there, how will impart that education? 33 received 9 to 12 hours and only 47% received more than 12 hours a day. While solar chargeable smartphones can indeed be used for watching educational videos, they cannot be used by students for writing lengthy assignment. These are the issues. As per a peer study, 24% of Indians own a smartphone, but only 11% of household possess any type of computer. Because it's too difficult to write on mobile. It's not possible. You need the computer, you need the laptop, others devices. Okay. So challenges are continuing. The digital divide exists in India is seen among class, gender, region, and place of residence. You may be economically sound, but if facilities are not there, you cannot perform the task. So digital divide that exists in India is seen among class, gender, religion, or place. This figure don't stop here itself. There exist even interstate gaps from 4.6% of people with computer internet access in Bihar to 23.5% Kerala and 35% in Delhi region. See what about the children and teachers of these areas. Also in a country where 30% people dwell in one-roomed houses, as I mentioned, the other issues, 2-3 children, whether not possible, even at the same time the family work. So there's no disturbance in even the family system. They are the other issues. Now coming on the last aspect of this, that is how to cope in such situations, because change is ubiquitous. Disasters are also one way or other will come, that we can never stop, but we, by adopting the mitigation approaches, we can minimize the adverse impact of those disasters. So self-management first is required here. Healthy way to cope with this stress. Know what to do if you are sick and are concerned about COVID-19. Contact a health professional before you start any self-treatment. At that period of time, know where and how to get treatment and other support services and resources, including counseling or therapy. Take care of your emotional health. Take breaks from watching, reading, or listening to news stories, including those on social media. Hearing about the pandemic repeatedly can be upsetting. Take care of your body, which is more important. Now, coming on the final aspect. Okay, so it means we had to interact, we had to cope with the situations, we had to enhance further in order to survive in a better way. So what is the solution? Disaster will continue to occur and technology will likely help us to cope with them, because we cannot stop one or other way that will affect us. How can we minimize the loss? That's the reference in one of the Don Depot, the co-principal instigator, the borderless higher education for refugees, what mentioned by him. We are in a world where conflict and environmental destruction are going to have lots of people, families, and communities living in precarious context. The willingness of post-secondary institutions to step up and engage and provide opportunities for those people will never be as large as the need. The only way we can even make a dent in this is to learn to collaborate and cooperate across institutions and across time and spatial boundaries. The only way really to do that is to rely on technology to create conditions to allow people to collaborate. So, and finally, the concluding remarks here, the destiny of India, as mentioned in the Kothari Commission, now being shaped in her classroom, this we believe is no more rhetoric. In a world based on science and technology, it is education that determines the level of prosperity, welfare, and security of the people. So education must be continued, whatever form it is. So with this, thank you everyone for your patient learning. Now, if anyone has any question, you are most welcome. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. We have certain questions in the chat box. If you may allow, I shall read them to you.
Yes, sure.
So one of the questions is in the context of digital divide related to marginalized learners like tribal learners located far away, what are the ICTs for teaching these sections?
See, ICT is just same, but yes, we can change the mode. As I mentioned, if directly it is not possible to impart the education in the form of recordings, video lectures, or other type of the videos, we can interact the students. Then we may say, okay, you write through mails on our phone. This way we can enhance our interactions where it is not possible. Here it is possible, but where it is not possible, and that's the difference of the synchronous and asynchronous learning aspects, where we can minimize this gap of between the have and have nots, as you mentioned about the tribal areas.
Thank you so much, sir. Another question has been asked by Dr. Swati, and she asked that, is it possible to understand online education for marginalized section from law's point of view?
Lower?
Laws,
Hello?
LOA, LAW, from the point of view of law.
From the point of view of the law.
Yes, sir.
Please repeat the question.
Is it possible to understand online education for marginalized section from the point of view of law?
Yes, because what I mentioned, because law helps, law talks about the equality. So equality is related to everyone, and how law help to bridge that gap, whether we talk about education and any other aspect of societies. So everyone has the right. When you talk about education, one of the fundamental rights. So right, where you seek this right, this kind of right, from the law of the land itself, constitution, from the legal enactments. So right related to law or law related rights are already there. How law will help to accelerate or to facilitate this learning process, even to those sections of societies who are on the margins. Now we have also the smart classes at the village levels, if not in every village, but they are the schools. And not by this kind of electricities, by solar energies, they are imparting the educations. So we have to find out means or ways with innovative ideas where we can interact and we can serve our purpose of imparting the education.
I'm calling from, this is regarding the conference. I have not received the brochure, sir. If
What
the
you not
brochure
received?
was available.
Madam, but I am not related to this. Hello?
Who is?
You better to right person here. I think Shomya and Devansi will tell you what you received, what you not received. If any question here, you are most welcome.
Ma'am, are you added on the WhatsApp group?
Ask ma'am to mail it to us personally. Please take
Yeah.
up the questions.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. The next question is that how to overcome this challenge of online learning for marginalized classes?
Overcome. The one thing, the learning is an ever-growing process. Now, the means and method, what I mentioned as part of my lecture here, only that is the way we can survive, we can enhance our system. Interactions, actions, both are required on our part. Okay, but now I think we have cope up with the situations. Now the season offline classes started, right? So better to you move, interact with the people. I think that will help a lot, because there is no substitute for the offline classes. Remember this. No substitute for offline classes. Okay, online has its own advantage, but the offline has more advantage in terms of our holistic development. Okay.
Yes, sir. One more question. In context of the upcoming NEP, how shall we move ahead with the ICT-based education?
See, much in this new education policy or national education policy 2020, much emphasis is given on language and culture. Language and culture. How to use this? What I also mentioned about the problem, whether content is available on online or not. So we have to develop. Who will develop the content? Not the others. We as a teachers, the other stakeholders, to develop those mediums and modes through which we can impart the education for marginal sections in the form of small learning packets. That will help a lot. I think sim-like situations, छोटे चीजों को आप कैसे करके आगे बढ़ सकते हैं जो है. So I think that will definitely help a lot to all of us. We have to individually contribute. Remember this.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, anyone has if any other observations? Anyone interested to add something here? Not to ask, but to add something here. He or she is also welcome. Okay, if fine, so I think
Sir, I feel the new era coming up era is for blended learning rather than the offline mode itself. So I think the more focus should be on the lower priority, which is not able to have the like as previous divide, digital divide. I think we have to focus on that aspects more to minimize the digital divide.
No, we can minimize the digital gap. And what you're talking about the digital divide through accessing the more infrastructure facilities, even for those sections society, even for those sectors of the society. And that's the only way to develop in a holistic way. That's what I personally think.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Any more questions?
No, ma'am.
Just a minute. I read one question here. Do you really think that just by distributing educational types or equipment to the students will help to cope with online teaching challenges? How are we going to connect personally with the students in such case? One of my lecture, which I also delivered in one of the universities on the same topic, this question was also there, I think. Right? How to cope? I just mentioned the concentrations, anxiety, stress. We had to adopt the informal mechanism. Talk to student, give them freedom to call you, where you interact, where you contribute, how to reduce the stress of future students and how yourself. It's both ways, it's not only on the part of the students. As you mentioned, we are distributing the types or these tools, how to connect, because what happened, we have lost the connectivity. Connection is there in terms of infrastructure facilities, but you have lost the connectivity. That means that kind of social interactions, what we have in class atmosphere. Here in online, that is not possible. But there are other means, mobile phones, emails, where you can connect, you can discuss, and thus you can minimize the gap between teachers and tards in terms of their social interaction, even outside the class system through online mode. That's what I personally observed. My students sometimes call me even the late night, 10 p.m., 11 p.m. Sir, baat to suniye. And I think we have to listen. If you're not having any major issues on your family parts, I think you are supposed to pay equal attention. Okay, हाँ बताइए क्या चीज है. Just talking 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or even 30 minutes, I think that will not disturb your time or your orderly arrangements, whatever the arrangements you have as part of your work culture, whether family or outside family. So somewhere we had to adopt a more informal way of interactions, being the part of pharma system, and that's the success of every organization, every institutions, beginning from the family to the society at large. Informal, you are supporting your approach. Formal maybe in the system.
Thank you so much, sir. I think with this, we would wind up the session, and I would formally thank Veerpal Singh sir for enlightening us with the knowledge. I hope and believe that everyone present here would have some or the other takeaways from this session as such. So with this note, I would request all the participants to please switch on their camera so that we can take a group photograph. Thank you so much, everyone.
So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
I have a doubt to the organizers. When we will get the feedback form and how we will receive the feedback form?
Ma'am,
We will get back to you. Don't worry about it. You will be updated on the WhatsApp group and via mail as well.
Apurva, allow me to leave. Soumya, thank you to everyone.
Yes,
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable contribution, sir. Thank you so much.
I can recognize some of my faces. Yes, how are you?
Fine, sir. I'm fine.
Chalo, okay, we'll talk later. Eh? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Bye.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All the participants will be taking a break of 30 minutes. We'll be resuming at 4:30 for the next session.